Democrats for being here. Now, under President Trump, Kristi Noem, and Stephen Miller, we have some quiet, please. Good afternoon, everybody. Under President Trump, Kristi Noem, and Stephen Miller, ICE's been unleashed without guardrails, violating constitutional rights, and refusing to coordinate with state and local law enforcement. That's not border security, and that's not law and order. It's chaos, created at the top and inflicted on our neighborhoods and our cities.
Bruh. I mean, the only thing you were right about was that, yeah, it's created from the top, which is Tim Walz and Jacob Frey, who's refusing to provide any type of control on the situation. There's no crowd control. There's no like cutting off of certain parts of the street so ICE can do their operations. Nothing, none of that. You guys are literally letting protesters obstruct ICE officers, go after them, hunt them down. I mean, one even got their finger bitten off, and you guys are going like, oh, yeah, this is all manufactured by ICE? No, this is manufactured by Jacob Frey and Tim Walz, and they want to sit there and play innocent. But if you have any type of rational thinking, you would understand that, yo, ICE is not meant to do crowd control. Neither is Custom Border Patrol. But due to the fact that these guys are not giving them the crowd control that they need with the local police, they have to bring in these guys, and it's getting out of hand. And I can't sit there and blame ICE because they have to do their job. Can't sit there and blame Custom Border Patrol because they're only getting brought in because Jacob Frey and Tim Walz are not doing their job. So who do we blame? The people trying to do their job or the people who refuse to do their job?
Yesterday, Secretary Noem, who for some reason still has a job, announced that agents in Minneapolis will start wearing body cameras. Let me be clear. Kristi Noem does not get credit for agents saying agents will finally do what they should have been doing all along. And why just Minneapolis? Why not the whole country? Every DHS agent everywhere should have a body camera, and it should be on. That protects Americans, it protects officers, it's common sense. But executive actions are not enough, and this administration has proven it cannot be trusted. We don't need promises, we need law. That's why Democrats are pushing simple, uniform reforms to protect Americans everywhere. First, end roving patrols. Warrants. That's what when you arrest somebody, when you break into their house, you need a warrant. Why is ICE accepted from that? You don't get to scoop innocent Americans off the streets.
Yeah, they're not scooping innocent Americans off the street. They're scooping undocumented immigrants off the street. Criminals, undocumented criminals off the street, not citizens at all. And they really like, yo, they can detain citizens for up to 72 hours, but there's been no citizen detained for 72 hours. Actually, I was crying about somebody being detained for 2 days. When that's lawful. I'm sorry, but look it up. You can be detained for up to 72 hours. And if they don't bring no charges with you after that and you stay 74 hours, then that's a problem.
Second, accountability. ICE must follow the same rules as local police departments, including independent investigations. And speaking of playing by the same rules, masks need to come off.
Nope.
Cameras need to go on.
Sure. No, I agree with him on that. Like masks, though, they don't need to come off because you guys are doxing these people and harassing their family members. So no, we can't trust you guys to do that. But what we can do is put body cams on. I mean, that's completely fair. So I'll give him that one.
Every officer needs to have ID, simple, plain ID. It's common sense. If a small-town police officer in upstate New York needs to have identification, why doesn't a federal officer? Why are Republicans against this? Which is true in just about every police department in America.
Yeah, bro, because actually, here's the thing. You want to know why they don't want to bring out the local police? Because the local police will have to mask up as well because they'd be seen as the enemy just like ICE is. And that's why, and Jacob Frey and Tim Walz know what the fuck they did. They know that they bring out the local police, the local policemen will be targeted. They will have to mask up just like ICE because anybody who helps ICE is now seen as the enemy in Minnesota. If you ain't seen that James O'Keefe video, you might want to go look it up how bad it is out there. Now, you want to tell me that what you're going to go ahead and bring the local police out and not mask them up when they're over here taking pictures of the ICE officers and going after their family members? And you think that's okay? Yeah, they're not telling you the whole story, obviously.
America, what are they hiding? Who is Noam hiding? Who is she protecting? Is it because that so many have bad records in the ICE force?
No, they don't. Actually, the ICE guys are ex-law enforcement and veterans. So you're lying. That's crazy how they're going to lie about ICE because they don't want to take accountability for what they're doing in Minneapolis. Like I said, Tim Walz could have brought a National Guard to provide crowd control and keep people like Renee Good and Alex Petty from dying. Jacob Fry brought in the local police to keep people like Renee Good and Alex Petty from dying, but that was never done. And then they're forcing ICE, who's not trained in crowd control whatsoever, but have to perform it to be able to do their investigation. You're forcing them to do this. And then when things go bad, because you're forcing people who are not trained in crowd control, but trained in law enforcement to provide crowd control, you don't expect things to go bad and you want to blame ICE. But guess what? You can't blame ICE because this is not happening in any other city but Minneapolis. What does that tell you? That there's a special case going on there, because in other cities, I'm gonna be real with you, these people aren't as bad. They're not tracking down ICE. They're not doing no ICE watcher. They're not doxing them to go after their family members. They're not biting off their fucking fingers, by the way. This is all happening in Minnesota. They're not throwing fireworks at them. This is all in Minnesota. So you can't sit here and blame ICE at this point because everywhere else they're working fine. You're using a one-off situation and trying to act like it's happening across America, and that's a lie.
Or don't really belong there? No more anonymous agents. No secret operatives. These are common sense reforms, ones that Americans already know and expect from law enforcement. If Republicans refuse to support them, then they're choosing chaos over order.
Y'all not even supporting ICE. Y'all are choosing chaos over the order. When you guys don't support ICE and you let these protesters go out there and disturb them, that's disorder. You're allowing that. Like, what are you talking about? Like, the only reason why this has happened is because your rhetoric towards ICE and actions you've allowed towards ICE.
Choosing to protect ICE from accountability over American lives. And one final point. Since the deaths of Alex Petty and Renee Good, nothing meaningful has changed. Last week in Portland, federal agents fired tear gas at a crowd that included children. In Colorado, an agent stole a woman's phone, then shoved her to the ground and beat her when she tried to get it back. This must stop. Republicans must change and help us change.
No. Dems, you must change your rhetoric towards ICE. And you must allow ICE to do their job and stop crying about deportations of undocumented immigrants and undocumented immigrants with a criminal history. Y'all got to stop crying about that. And that's the problem with the Dems. It's like, see, their rhetoric gets people killed and they tell us to turn down the temperature. The only reason Renee Good sped off is because of people like Tim Walz, who said that ICE is going to kidnap you and take you to a foreign torture dungeon. That's why people react like that. People like Alex Petty thinks it's okay to get involved in a law enforcement scene because he don't see them as law enforcement. He sees them as Gestapo and fascists, which you guys call them, and Nazis. That's the only reason why this is happening. So stop trying to sit there and blame it on ICE when it's literally y'all rhetoric.
They need to work with us and legislate now. Senator Murray.
Last week, we wrapped up 11 of our 12 funding bills and passed those bills that rejected the devastating cuts from Trump and the House Republicans. It ended the slush fund continuing resolution, and it took Congress's power of the pen back from Russ vote and rejected every far-right poison pill. But our work is not done. There is one bill left, DHS, because we cannot fund DHS if we do not rein in DHS.
Well, you want to watch you saying DHS because they've already funded ICE throughout the entire year. Yeah, ICE funding already been funded. The Republicans outsmarted them on that. So, and this is how childish they are. Because they can't go after the department they want to or the force they want to, which is ICE, they're willing to make all of DHS suffer for how they feel against ICE. And how fucking petty is that? Like, I'm sorry, but as a grown adult, and there's a lot of grown adults in here, I know most of y'all are like 35 through 65, most of y'all being 65. As a grown adult, are you serious? So you're gonna punish the entire DHS department because you can't go after ICE. Your main problem is with ICE, but you're going after the entire DHS department. How fair is it to those Americans who you're not even mad at? You're only doing this because of ICE, but you can't get ICE, so you're gonna go after the rest of them? That's pathetic. That's fucked up. But here's Dems over here supporting it.
That is a clear, hard line. Law enforcement cannot be lawless. But that's exactly what we have been seeing from ICE and CBP. What is happening in Minneapolis has not been subtle. Federal agents are going door to door asking for papers, and just as often ignoring papers, taking in people who are legally seeking asylum, like little 5-year-old Liam and his father, who a judge forced them to release this week.
Yeah, because he was undocumented. And here's the thing, just because a judge forced them to be released doesn't mean that they're innocent. Like, if you ain't know, bro, these people are getting taken to jails. The undocumented people are getting taken to jails, and the jails are releasing them. And then sometimes the jails refuse to give them to ICE. Not the prisons, but the jails. So that's why I started to try to take these guys to the prisons, because for some reason the jails aren't giving up the illegals and they're letting them go. And this is an example of it happening right in our face. Like that guy right there, no, he's an undocumented. And they try to give the child to the mother, and the mother might be an undocumented because she was too afraid to go outside to get her child because of ICE. I mean, come on now, guys. You can't pull on heartstrings forever. Like, yes, I know it was a little kid, but well, a little kid was taken into Child Protective Services, not detained by ICE. Like, y'all know that, right? Like, he's an anchor baby, sadly. He's an anchor baby. 2 undocumented immigrants had a baby, and this kid is ours. So that's an American citizen, and he's getting taken to Child Protective Services by his parents. I don't know. Well, we'll see about the mother, but the father, they're most likely going to pick that man back up again. And guess what? The Dems are going to ignore the story because they can't pull heartstrings on it.
We have people that have done nothing wrong being abducted by masked agents with no warrant, shipped across the country, and herded into overcrowded detention centers for who knows how long. Some of them taken in Minneapolis.
Who knows? If y'all would give them up, wouldn't be that long. Y'all not allowing these undocumented immigrants to be shipped off to ICE or to be taken by ICE and deported. You're not allowing them. You're either letting them go or blocking ICE. That's why they started taking them to prisons. So, damn, everything they say is a lie when it comes to ICE, huh?
Mind you, are being left out in the street in Texas. No way to get home when ICE is forced to grapple with the reality they were here legally all along. The response to this lawless catastrophe has been understandable. Outrage from everyone who believes this is a country where law, order, due process, and basic human decency matters. People have protested peacefully. People have
no, they haven't. There are some people protesting peacefully, but as soon as you get involved or you start impeding or obstructing law enforcement or the ICE officers, yeah, you're no longer peacefully protesting. But that's what they try to make it seem. Oh, they're just all peacefully protesting. No, they're not. Renee Good wasn't peacefully protesting. You can't obstruct traffic. You can't block traffic, honk horn in the rhythm, and try to obstruct ICE operations and sit there and say, oh, that's a peaceful protest. You're not. Alex Preddy, he could have just sat there and stayed on the side and just kept yelling and holding up his sign, but he wanted to get involved, went right towards an ICE officer to block him. And guess what? That's not peaceful protesting. That's obstruction. So no, they're not peaceful protesters. At least the ones that got shot. And I mean, I wish they never got shot. I wish they'd have taken different actions, but they walked themselves into that.
Documented the chaos as legal observers, and the Trump administration response to that has only grown more unhinged and infuriating. We saw protesters tear gassed, even as they were pinned on the ground. We saw the shocking murders of Renee Good and Alex Preddy, and we heard the administration lie every
murders. Wow. Oh, so you know what's crazy? Isn't it funny how she just got done talking about due process? You know, innocent till proven guilty. And then she's over here calling these guys murderers with no due process, no investigation. Bro, I don't even know how y'all Dems follow this sometimes. She just literally sat there in our face, talk about due process, then called these guys murderers with no due process.
Step of the way. They lied about little Liam and his dad being here illegally. They lied about Alex Preddy brandishing a weapon and called him a terrorist. And just this week, we all saw a video of a woman who was abruptly cut off, pulled over, guns immediately drawn on her, nearly arrested before the local police stepped in and
talking about the disabled lady? No, there was no guns pulled on her. They broke her window and they dragged her out the car. She didn't have guns pulled on her. Why are you lying?
Saved her from ICE. And yet the Trump administration is trying now to lie about that too. Enough. We are not going to fund a rogue department with its unchecked agents and officers. We're going to have accountability at DHS, or there will not be Democratic votes to fund a lawless agency.
Yeah, see, because they can't go after ICE. Now they're going after all of DHS, who honestly ain't even do nothing. They're not the ones out there, bro. So you're going to defund the entire agency because of ICE. Because they think about it, ICE, their funding has already been approved throughout the entire year. They cannot defund ICE. I know they were talking about it, but they had to walk that back once they realized that ICE was already funded. So now they're just about to just screw over the entire DHS for what ISIS did because they can't go after them. Childish.
If Republicans refuse to make the changes the American people are demanding, they are forcing a Republican shutdown of DHS. The chaos, the brutality, all of it has happened at the explicit direction of this president and a Republican Congress that wrote him a blank check. If Republicans want Democratic votes to—
Whoa, sweetheart, you was there too. Y'all was there too. Hold on now. Y'all approved the funding as well.
Fix this, then they need to understand that half measures won't cut it. It really is that simple. This is somber stuff. Legal immigrants being brutalized, American citizens being detained, American citizens being shot and killed by our own immigration enforcement. The Trump administration needs to take these abuses seriously and understand that what Democrats are demanding is reasonable and it is necessary. End the roving patrols. Hold federal agents accountable and hold them to the same standards as local law enforcement on the basic things like use of force. Get masks off, get body cameras on.
I would say this. I would be like, all right, cool. We'll take masks off, but we need a 10-year automatic sentence to anybody who docks an ICE officer that we can trace. Cool. No. That's cool. Mask off, but we need immediate punishment, severe punishment on anybody who doxes ICE and go after their family member. I want it to be traced through the FBI, CIA. I don't give a damn. We find those people and we arrest them. If you want their mask off, let's make sure our officers are safe, because the problem with you liberals is that you leave these guys to the wolves, let them get attacked, and then you guys won't say shit. An ICE officer will die and they won't say a damn thing. And they don't know it's because he got doxxed. They won't say a damn thing. So I would say this. If the Republicans are smart, they'll be like, okay, cool. But anybody who doxes an ICE officer, automatic, expedited sentencing and severe punishment, like off the rip. Because we can't play with them. Because, I mean, the Democrats will sit here and watch these guys get harassed and talk about, oh, well, this is freedom of speech. Watch these guys get harassed and all, and they'll be like, well, you got to understand. It's like, this is part of the peaceful protest. It's like, okay, just like throwing what? Just like biting off fingers is, just like obstruction is, right?
And ensure proper identification. So my message to Trump and this entire administration: stop the lying, stop slandering American citizens and lawful immigrants, stop insulting our intelligence and spitting on the Constitution. This country sees right through this.
No. We see right through you and y'all bullshit. There's no way y'all gonna sit there, like, pretty much did nothing to make the protests like a little bit more, I don't know, controlled. Yeah, you did nothing to make it more controlled. Then you want to sit there and blame ICE when you literally have people walking up to ICE while they're doing an investigation or an operation. Like, they shouldn't be able to do that. Like, I don't know why American people don't realize this, but you shouldn't be able to walk up on ICE and impede on an investigation like that. That's obstruction. But for some reason, you guys are making it seem like this is normal, like this is part of peaceful protest when it's not. You're making these rioters literally believe that they're peaceful protesters, but no, they're violent obstructionists at a certain point.
The people recognize that Democrats.
Oh, and shout out to my man Jay says, since Trump won, Dems been behaving like children. And it's the most childish thing to do when, because you can't go after ICE funding, you're going after all of DHS, who has literally nothing to do with, well, most of them have nothing to do with this ICE operation that's going on that you're also mad about. That's crazy. That's crazy. It's crazy that Dems won't even like stick up for people and be like, yeah, low key, y'all shouldn't be doing that. If y'all can't get ICE, give it up. Don't just go after the entire department of DHS like all of them are complicit, like they're not. And any one of you Dems should be condemning this.
Are fighting to protect basic American principles and basic American rights. My message to Republicans, we are at the table. We are ready to negotiate serious measures to rein in these rogue federal agencies. We are focused on getting a bill, and it has to be a bill that reins in the abuses we are seeing done by ICE and CBP.
No. What y'all need to do is force, like, I don't know, if y'all need to actually bring in the National Guard to provide crowd control, force Jacob Fry to bring in local policemen to provide crowd control, and actually protect your constituents. That's all you got to do. Like, you're literally trying to hone down on ICE when they're not the problem. I know a lot of people don't want to hear that, but they're not the problem. And we're talking about Minnesota only, by the way. So obviously it ain't nice, because this would be happening all across America. We'd be seeing plenty of deaths almost every day if it was ICE. But no, we're only seeing this in Minneapolis because there is no real leadership being taken there. There's no control over these protests that should be taken by the local government. That's it. That's all. Like, y'all can sit here and try to blame ICE all day, but the buck stops at Tim Walz and Jacob Fry.
Americans deserve accountability. We will settle for nothing less.
Thank you, Patty.
This isn't about immigration. This is about an out-of-control agency. And I want to be really clear, this is not a Democratic wish list. This isn't about trying to enact immigration reform. All we're asking is that this federal law enforcement agency operate like every other law enforcement agency operates in the country, that they hold themselves to the same standard.
Oh God, let's not forget to double tap that screen and like the video, guys. Let's get those likes up by double tapping that screen. Appreciate the support, by the way. You have any questions, comments, jokes, or disagreements, I'll be happy to read it out loud and engage with it. Just $2 and up. Appreciate the support, guys. Yes, even you haters can go ahead and send a disagreement in. I'll be happy to read it out loud. If not, I mean, you can just hate in the chat. It's all good.
That your local police is held to. You would not tolerate it if a cop, fully masked, without identification, snatched.
They have identification, bro. Now y'all lying. Now y'all just straight up lying. The identification is really right on them. You see the ICE vest right there. Now y'all just say, well, no identification. No, you can easily identify these guys. And when they're walking up to these protesters know who ICE is. Shoot, they're so on it with ICE, they attack people who aren't even ICE. So what are you talking about?
Off the street in broad daylight without a warrant or due process, because that is not safety. That is government thuggery. That is government thuggery. And so one of the reasons that people are so exercised, not just Democrats, not just progressives, but libertarians and Republicans and people in urban communities and rural communities and suburbs and exurbs, everybody is angry because this agency in particular is out of control.
No.
This agency.
No. Not this agency. The protesters are out of control. The protesters that think it's okay to walk up to ICE and get in their way during a law enforcement scene, that's what's out of control. Protesters that think that they can throw fireworks at ICE, out of control. Bite their fingers off, out of control. Dox their family, out of control. Where's that being said, though?
In particular is out of control, and we're not demanding a series of reforms that have been our longtime political hobby horses. This is not an immigration debate. This is about the rule of law. This is about whether or not someone can present themselves to you as a law enforcement officer and not have any proof that they are a law enforcement officer. And so the next 2 weeks are about putting an end to that. Agents need warrants. They need to properly identify themselves. And if you talk to anybody in law enforcement, a service member.
Yeah, but here's the retarded part. People will be obstructing, about to get arrested, talk about, well, who are you? Who are you? Who are you? It's like, no, you know what the F he is right on his damn vest. Be real with you. It's kind of retarded how they're saying, oh, well, we can't tell who they are. That's a lie. They're literally walking up with it on their vest. And if you're saying that, oh, anybody could buy it. No, we're not talking about the jacket, dumbass. We're talking about the complete tactical vest. Like with the weapons on it and all with their badge right there. It's like, what are you talking about? You guys sound dumb saying this. I mean, when you've seen all these ICE officers in Minnesota, you see them with their vest on. You know who these guys are just by looking at them. What are you talking about?
Federal law enforcement, a state sheriff, county PD, they all say, I'm officer so-and-so. Here's my badge. That is part of public safety.
Whoa. I mean, bro, dog, I'm be real with you. When you get pulled over by an officer, they don't even hit you with the hello. My name is officer last name. How was your day today? The reason they don't even do that. What are you talking about? Bro, what? Bro, usually you won't find out the officer's name until he writes you that ticket. Why are you lying? Bro, people live out here every day in life. The people get pulled over by officers, get written that ticket, and they don't even know the officer's name then. So what do you mean? We know identification just off the look of it. I'm sorry, but yeah, they're stepping out of an unmarked car with a vest that says ICE on it. 9 times out of 10, they're ICE. I'm sorry, but you got to be retarded to think differently. Like, you got to be pretty dumb to sit here and think that what he said made sense. Like, whoa, I've been pulled over by police before, and they didn't just lay out their entire name of identification. We just all went off the assumption that he was a cop because he pulled me over with headlights in a police vehicle. I mean, shouldn't that be enough?
ICE is asking you to say that the rules don't apply to them. The basic
remember, these are federal law enforcement agents, so they most likely abide by different rules if we're talking about federal law enforcement.
Expectations of police conduct don't apply to them.
Most likely.
The Constitution of the United States doesn't apply to them. And I think Americans across the political spectrum and across every geography are saying enough is enough.
Ready for your questions.
Go ahead. What do you say to Mike Lee's argument that the Senate rules?
And remember, these guys are federal agents. So let me go ahead and do something for you. Do federal law enforcement officers have to identify themselves? Boom, right here. Federal law enforcement officers are not universally required by a single federal statute to identify themselves in every interaction. But they must do so under specific circumstances, particularly during an arrest, searches, or crowd control as indicated by Law Enforcement Identification Act. So here's the thing here. They not universally required by a single federal statute to identify themselves in every interaction. So yeah, what he's saying, not in every interaction does this ICE officer have to identify himself. Now, of course, in these particular, particularly during an arrest, which they don't even do then, searches, which they don't do then, but providing crowd control, yeah, they're not supposed to, but I mean, they could if they want to, but they're not actually really required, universally required to. I hope you know this. They do so, well, 1, because of this act, and 2, because it says during certain procedures. So if you think you could walk up to an officer and just say, identify yourself, a federal law enforcement officer, you might want to look at that again. Not universally required by a single federal statute to identify themselves in every interaction, but do so under specific circumstances. I mean, so yeah, what he's saying applies to law enforcement, but remember, these are federal agents we're talking about. Remember that part.
Allow the majority to require the minority to stage a talking filibuster to stop the SAVE Act.
We've got to get this done, and we've got to get it done very quickly. The SAVE Act is an abomination. It's Jim Crow 2.0 across the country. We are going to do everything we can to stop it. Yes.
Jim Crow 2.0. Like, bro, you know what Jim Crow was, right? Are you sure you know? Because we're not out here telling them they can't go into certain places. We're telling them that, yo, you can't be here illegally, so you got to get out. Like, bro, do you know what Jim Crow was? But all right, that's wild. That's wild. I'm weak. Somebody says, oh, if any federal officer or local does not identify themselves and arrest you without reading. Bro, we're not even talking about reading you your rights. We're talking about you telling them to identify themselves. They don't universally have to do that. They're not held by any federal statute to do so. But I mean, but reading you your rights during an arrest, sure, but we're not talking about that. So I'm not sure how you even got in your head. Like, stay on topic, my friend.
But Leader Thune just said he doesn't think that it's going to be enough time to secure the meaningful reform that he wants. How confident are you that you can achieve that by?
If Leader Thune negotiates in good faith, we can get it done. We expect to present to the Republicans a very serious, detailed proposal very shortly. Yes.
Also said just now that you are negotiating directly with the White House. He's not a part of these negotiations. Are you?
Shout out to my man Daniel Castro. He says Petty was shot by a gay minority ICE officer. LOL. Bro, dude's Hispanic. Bro, it was two Hispanic dudes. They said it was like Cubans who shot Petty. I mean, no, wait. Yeah, it was the Cubans who were involved in Petty's death. I was like, wow, that's funny. It's not funny, but it's funny. Actually, no. What made it funny was, I think his name was Kyle Zelensky or whatever, like this progressive, right? And he was trying to call it diverse fascism. And then he used the old, tactic of saying, oh, well, they're going to come after you guys next. They just can't wait to come after you guys. It's like, no, they're not. They're not. You guys are just mad because you thought it was a bunch of KKK members and Proud Boys and ICE. But honestly, there's a good amount of Hispanics in ICE and also in Custom Border Patrol. And those are the people who got involved in Alex Preddy's shooting, sadly. But apparently that's called diverse fascism. I know, crazy, right? Somebody said, are you really black? I mean, like, bro, are you stupid? Like, are you blind? I mean, I don't know. Maybe if you're blind, you hear my voice, you could probably think I'm white or something, but like, bro, really?
First, Leader Thune has to and should be part of these negotiations. And second, the House vote just passed, and we're going to present a serious proposal, detailed along the outlines of what we have talked about, to the Republicans, both in the Senate, the House, and the White House, very shortly. Yes.
Thank you, Leader Schumer. Good afternoon. In the House vote that just happened right now, Leader Jeffries and his top members of Democratic leadership voted against this deal that you guys negotiated here in the Senate. Is there a disconnect between you and Leader Jeffries?
Leader Jeffries and I are talking all the time, and we'll be meeting this afternoon to continue our discussion. Thank you.
All right, now let's get over to what the Republicans are saying now. Because, bro, that was hard to listen to. I mean, damn, the lie after lie after lie, the spin after spin after spin. I'm just like, bro, like, how do y'all do it? How do y'all Dems do this? I don't get it.
Thank you, Steve. Well, all right, it's not on autopilot anymore.
You love doing that.
I do. Makes you feel taller. So grateful to be with you all, and I'm sorry we're in this situation again. It's like Groundhog Day in a way, the bad movie, where we come back to the same